Hello, I'm Cheryl Meyer, and I'm otherwise known as Cheryl M. Health Muse. And what my goal is to inspire you to lead a healthier life. So when I proposed my podcast, I proposed that we present it in two different segments. The first one is It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future-Proof Your Health, where I get to share everything I have learned to return my health back to relative wellness and to live a pain-free life in spite of the fact that I have autoimmune disease. But the second part of my podcast is this episode, and that's Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in. My concept with this is it's all fine and well that you hear me tell my story, but I get a lot of, it's all fine and well that it worked for you, but it's not going to work for me. And I wanted you to hear that there are lots of people out there that have made changes in their lifestyle that have supported their health and brought them back to relative wellness. We all have a couple things in common. We all owned our own health. Whatever the doctor was suggesting we did was going on a parallel path to us making these lifestyle changes where we did things that cleaned up our toxic load. We all pay attention to our body. You'll hear jazz in the background because I want you to listen to the rhythm of your health, and I want you to pay attention to what your body is telling you. My body had been trying to tell me that I was going to topple over into toxic load for some time. I just wasn't listening. So if you clean up your lifestyle and if you listen to your body, you have a very good chance not of being deprived in any way, but returning to feeling darn good. And that's what these podcasts are really all about. So thank you for joining me. This is going to be a Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in episode, and I hope you enjoy it. And I hope that we all inspire you to lead a healthier, happier life. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to another edition of Tell Me Your Story, the Health Muse is in. And we have a very special guest today. And I'm probably going to mispronounce her name. I should have asked before we started. Suzanne Thibault? Thibault, okay, I did. I had got it all wrong. She is an animal empath. And I just finished reading her book. My husband fell in love with it and bought copies for several people in our life. And we'll make sure you know where to get this because it's such a sweet book if you're an animal person. So I wanted her to tell you her story and how she got started knowing that she was an empath and what the animal world has to tell us as humans, because we need to hear it. It's very important. So I will now turn it over to Suzanne and start with your Home Alone story, because I think that's a great place to start.
Oh, thank you, Cheryl. And thank you for having me on your show. I'm very grateful. And so I'm happy to share my story, even though just know it was extremely painful for me. So it did get repressed in my childhood. So let me take you back in time. I grew up in a very, very dysfunctional family where I felt unwanted, unloved, and uncared for. I had a childhood dog named Wiggles. She was a small, tiny, white, curly-haired mutt. She kind of looked like a Maltese. She was really cute. And she became my best friend. We would do everything together. We played together, cuddled together, slept together, you name it. She was my best friend, my best buddy inside this dysfunctional family. At age 8, my parents did the unthinkable. They left me home alone for 2 weeks while they took a vacation to Tahiti. This wasn't like the movie Home Alone where 8-year-old Kevin goes grocery shopping and orders pizza. I fell down into a deep pit of fear, shaking. I was so scared. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I felt like I was going to die.
What a horrible thing that they did to you.
Oh,
Horrible.
I still can't believe it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't believe it as I was
I,
reading it.
I know. So that's when I first communicated with Wiggles. Wiggles, bless her heart, said to me, "Don't be afraid. You are not alone. I am here with you and I love you." And somehow her words lifted me up out of that pit of fear and saved my life. I really believe if I did not hear her say that, that I would not have survived. It was so emotionally painful. It was such a deep wound that I actually had to repress it. I couldn't handle it as a kid, and I did repress it. And Wiggles then was my life partner because my parents were gone for 2 weeks. So we just continued to do everything together. And I realized that her unconditional love has saved my life because her love was bigger than my fear. It was
Right,
amazing,
right.
simply amazing.
What a beautiful thing.
I know. I bless her in heaven wherever she is because she truly did save my life as a child. So, as because I repressed the pain, I also repressed my animal communication skill, and that didn't come
It's not a
out.
surprise, yeah.
I know. It was attached to that emotional wounding. And so in my 40s, it began to come out again with my current dog, Odie. And that's how I then stepped in to animal communication.
Which is such a remarkable gift.
It is. I just marvel at, wow, I can really do that. And I have to tell you though, I did have a lot of self-doubt around it because I do believe I wanted to know it was true. And so I asked the Holy Spirit, can I really talk to animals? And he said, read Noah. So I got the Bible out, I read Noah, and he pointed out, how did the animals know to go to the ark? God told them. God talks to animals. If I'm aligned with spirit, I can talk to animals too, because it's really God talking. so that really, really grounded it
But
into
there
me.
are people who are gifted empaths. I
Yeah.
know that a lot of them, I have a little bit of it, but I never
Uh-huh.
wanted to develop it
That's because
until
it doesn't
recently.
always feel good, huh?
It was frightening.
Yeah.
And when I have some kind of an empath reaction to something, it's like a flit that goes through my brain like a camera that opens and shuts. I
Uh-huh.
see something, and then I don't even really stop to recognize it until maybe an hour later, and somebody will tell me something happened and I realize I saw it,
Ah.
or that I saw it when I was talking to the person. But
Yeah.
I have never really developed it until recently. My husband and I have been we bought a second home in Sedona, so we've been taking some classes
Oh,
so that we can at
good.
least become more aware
Yeah.
of of that side of ourselves. But
Yeah.
I mean, yours just was there.
Yeah.
And
It's truly a gift from spirit. That's the way I look at it.
mhm,
That animals want to be heard. They really, really do. And animal communication is truly a spiritual tool because you're using your intuition along with your empathic abilities. Because
right.
animals speak through words. They don't speak the words. This is all coming through your intuition. Words, thoughts, pictures, and feelings. And feelings is the biggest one they use. And that's why, Cheryl, you said you could really feel your cat
Right.
because animals speak the most through their feelings. Did you know that animals are empaths too?
Oh, I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, and I mean, if you get sad, they're right there. They're
yeah,
right there with you to help you through that. And if
right.
you're happy, they're more frolicky. I
You're
mean, they
right.
do pick up our emotions and they
Yes,
do express them with us.
yes, that's great. That's great that is so true and so right on because animals are sentient souls. The word sentient means feeling emotions and having the perception of those emotions. And that's what animals are doing, just like us. They have the full range of emotional feelings, just like we do. And animals know how we feel because they can feel how we feel.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they pick it up
Yeah, they really,
really
truly
readily.
do. Yeah. Yeah.
So when you were in your 40s and you got Odie,
Mm-hmm.
when was the first time you communicated with him?
So I had just sort of stepped on to my spiritual path, so to speak, where I became more interested in spiritual things. And one day I was sitting on the couch meditating, and Odie was sleeping next to me. And I began having empathic feelings of grief. And I'm like, this doesn't feel like me. And I started crying, and I'm like, what is this? And then I saw intuitive pictures of Odie being kicked in the chest every time he barked as a puppy.
Oh
And
my.
I realized I was feeling Odie's emotional pain. And he was sharing with me his puppy story of abuse. And that just was like, wow. Oh, wow. And that, so Odie is my teacher. He started the ball rolling, so to speak, by sharing his story, trusting me to share that painful story. And just like, you know how we can talk to a friend when we're feeling bad and feel better?
Right.
It's the same
Right.
for animals. When he shared that story of abuse with me, it opened my heart to better understand his behaviors. Because he had been an aggressive barker to other people, like really nasty barking. And we thought he was being a jerk, but he wasn't. He was barking out of fear and out of his abuse. So it really was a big learning experience for me.
So by being able to communicate with you, did the barking calm down?
Yes, actually, it took a few months because, like us human beings, when we repress emotional pain and it starts to come out, and you need to do some personal healing work around it. There's
Right.
lots of ways to do that now. It's the same for animals. So Odie had suffered this PTSD type of abuse. He was reactive in his behavior, barking at every noise. And it took a few months of divine inner healing work and forgiveness exercises. He actually forgave the person that abused him, and that helped him to heal. So
Isn't
it was
that amazing?
a process of healing for him. And now today, he still barks. He's a dog, but he barks in a warning tone. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Dogs can bark a warning tone as opposed to the aggressive snarling bark he was doing. So yes, he has healed. He has healed it through all of that.
And you still have him, which is fabulous.
Yeah, he's just turned 11, and he's quite the character.
They all have different personalities, and
Yeah,
I'm
they
sure they
do.
all have a story to tell.
Yeah, they do. That's what's really cool about animal communication. If if you can't figure out what's going on with your pet, you can ask them about it. And you can hear their early life story or where they were. A lot of animals have abandonment issues because of the whole shelter process. All kinds of emotional pain that they can endure and have to deal with as an adult, just like us. And that's where I love, love, love animal communication. Let me just share a quick story of Odie. So last Thanksgiving, Odie got sick. He was vomiting during the night. We thought maybe he got the flu or something. So that morning we woke up, and I said to my husband, should we call the vet? And he's like, no, let's just wait and see what happens with the vomiting. I was in the kitchen making him breakfast, and he hunched over and yelled intuitively at me, level 10 pain. That had me picking up the phone, calling the vet. If I wasn't able to communicate with him, I wouldn't have recognized level 10 pain. I called the vet, we got him in. He was having a pancreatitis episode.
Oh my.
That was super duper painful, and he had to be hospitalized. If we hadn't taken him to the vet, he was so far off, like his numbers, liver and enzymes and all those numbers were off the charts. He spent 3 days in the hospital on IVs, and he may not have made it if we would have just thought it was the flu and waited it out. So I said a gratitude for that, that he would yell at me level 10 so we could help him.
But obviously he also trusts you, and he knew
Yeah.
you would hear him.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So that was, to me, that really illustrates the power of animal communication in helping us care for our animals. Yeah.
because when they're sick, you do debate.
I
You know,
know,
how
you
sick
do.
are they? Do you
Right.
need to take them? I had a cat.
Uh-huh.
I'm back in the house I grew up in.
Uh-huh.
And when I moved into the house, there were a lot of feral kitties in the neighborhood. And I'm not going to let them starve. So I was immediately feeding them. And
Yeah.
before I knew it, I had kittens under my house. So the first batch of kittens, I found homes for them all. And then chipping, chipping, I had more kittens under the house. And I found homes for half of the litter, but there were 3 kitties that I did not find homes for. So one of them came into my house. I already had 2, so I didn't want to have more than 3 in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other 2 I ended up feeding for the rest of their life outside. They had a very good life. It is somewhat protected out there. And then I immediately worked with the Feral Cat Society and got them all spayed.
Oh, nice.
But this one little guy who was, in fact, my mother used to tease me I was going to be the little old lady in the woods that took care of all the animals. I wasn't in the woods, but I was the little old lady of Arcadia that was feeding all of the strays. But I also got him spayed when I got the other guys spayed. And everybody came through it fine but him. And I knew he wasn't feeling good, but you debate. You're not supposed to get sick from being spayed.
Right.
And so I did take him in, and he was in there for several days because he almost died.
Oh, wow.
And he was not melding with my other kitties before that. And when he came home, he was a whole new cat.
Okay.
He was very grateful to be here.
Oh.
And very grateful to be with all of us. So it was an
That was good. You
interesting.
trusted your gut.
Yeah, but you don't know. And so, gee,
Right.
it would be nice to be able to ask.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is nice. It is nice. It's empowering.
Yeah. So you have had other pets since Odie, right?
Yeah, we have Odie, who's the oldest. We also have 4 more. When
You're the
animals
little old lady
know
where you are.
when animals know you can communicate with them, they don't want to leave. So we have another dog named Abby. She's a rat terrier mix, and she is the light of my life. And then we have 3 cats, and they don't all get along, so it's a little rambunctious in our house. But it's fun to be able to communicate with all of them. And I'm actually working on a book about the Fab Five. I call them the Fab Five. And
I love the
share
name.
their stories. Yeah. Yeah.
And tell me about your husband. How does he feel about animals?
Oh, he's an animal lover, and he's the reason we have 3 cats, because the last 2 cats were found as strays at my daughter's school where she was working. They were left in the parking lot. She's like, "Can we just bring them home and foster them?" I said, "Sure." As soon as my husband saw those little kittens, "Oh, my babies," he said. So my daughter and I were like, "Okay, I think the cats are going to stay." So yes, he's a big animal lover.
Yeah, no, he would have to be, I think, to be married
Yeah,
to
he's
you.
like, and because he's retired, they follow him around like he's the Pied Piper. It's so funny.
But they also know that he likes them and loves
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
So that makes a difference.
yes. He gives them pets every day. They just have a great relationship.
Now, you talk about a lot of other pets in your book. Did
Mhm.
people come to you seeking advice, or did you just meet them and then have conversations with their pets? How did that all come about?
Well, that's kind of a fun story. Before the idea of a book came about, when I first started practicing animal communication, I was guided every time I'd see a story of a wild animal that gone astray somewhere. spirit would say, talk to them. And so I did, and I'd get their story and I'd write it down. And then that turned into the book. And the book came through. I was just sitting at my computer, and from above me, this blissful voice said, Animal Wisdom Tales.
Which is the name of the book.
I'm like, okay, that came from God for sure, because, you know, I don't talk like that. So yeah, so that was powerful. And that started, I took those wild animal stories that I had collected, that began the book. And then some of the clients I asked their pet if they wanted to share a message. And then it just grew. When people found out I was interviewing pets, they wanted to do it. So it just grew. And I talked to more than 100 animals. It was awesome.
Wow.
So that's
Fantastic.
really the beauty of the book, is it's more about the messages that the animals are sharing and their wisdom for us that is so powerful.
And their messages are somewhat similar.
Yeah, they
It's
are.
all about love.
Yep.
It's all about paying attention to them. It's all about respect,
Yes, yes.
which a lot of times animals, whether they're farm animals or pets or wild animals, as humans, for some reason, we don't give them respect.
Or
And they
we just
deserve
are
that.
so busy we ignore them. I think
Right.
that happens a lot. We get busy with our life and we just pass them by, and yeah. But if we can slow down and pause and acknowledge them and say hello. When I talk to animals in the zoo, which truly are the saddest group of animals to be confined, they almost felt like they were crying tears of joy that someone would acknowledge them and talk to them on a soul level and tell them how beautiful they were and appreciate them. So I like to encourage people, if you're an animal lover, no matter where you go, even into a pet store, pause and gaze at the birds there and just say, I love you, you're beautiful. Do it to the hamsters and just share it. Share your love of animals with all of them and they will appreciate it.
Yeah. Starting in early adulthood, I had a real problem going to zoos.
Ah,
I knew that that was not the right thing for
yeah,
animals to be doing. But at the same time, if we hadn't done some of that, we wouldn't have ever had those animals anymore
right.
because we've wiped them out,
I know.
which
It's
is
so
as
sad.
disgusting as the fact that we have captured them.
I know.
But yeah, no,
There
it,
are
it
some, just to help you feel better, though, there are some animals in the zoo that feel that they're there with a good purpose of teaching. So there's only a few that are sad, not all of them.
right, right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that children get to see wild animals,
Yeah.
even though they're seeing them as captives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
It's
think it helps.
important.
Yeah, I think it helps to grow compassion and empathy for others. Yeah.
If that is built in the child, not
Yeah.
always. That sort of depends upon the adult that's there
That's
with the
true.
child. But
That's true.
yeah, they're not going to have that experience anywhere else.
Yeah.
Most likely, they're not going to have the availability to have that experience anywhere
Right.
else.
Right. Yeah.
So it's important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, shall I share the story of Nicholas the elephant?
Absolutely. I told her before we started, I am crazy about
So
elephants. I
fantastic.
love elephants. I love their community. I love their care for each other. I
Mhm.
love the mother's care for her child. They're really amazing for such a huge creature. They
Yeah.
are such a loving and they are community oriented, which
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Yeah, we can learn a lot from them.
Right, we can.
Well, I think it was in 2015, I went to a local wild animal rescue called Performing Animal Welfare Society. They're based in Galt, and then they have land up in the Jackson area where they house wild animals. It's not open to the public except during when they hold an open house. So a friend and I went to one of their open houses, and we got to go in by shuttle bus, and we got dropped off at the elephant enclosure areas. They have a beautiful hillside they all live on. It's wide open ranges. They have little pools, not human pools, but little lake pools to swim in. It's beautiful for them. But when we stepped off the bus, there was already an elephant right up along the fence line, and his name was Nicholas. He's an Asian bull elephant. There goes my empathic abilities. Luckily, I was wearing sunglasses because I just made this empathic connection with the elephant. And I was telling him how beautiful he was and that I appreciated all he's done in his service in the circus. And then he started sharing his emotional pain with me. And I started crying, but no one around me noticed because I had sunglasses on. So the elephant was sharing with me pictures and feelings. I don't think I can do justice with my words to his feelings, but he was born into a circus, almost immediately separated from his mother, and we know that's not good.
No.
For elephants especially too. And he was literally beaten and to be trained to ride a tricycle. Every time that training occurred, that inner pain just locked inside of him, and he got angry and he got frustrated, and he developed a hatred for human beings, for all the pain and suffering they were giving to him. He grew. Elephants get big, right? So then he showed me that he grew, and as he grew, his aggression became more than what the handlers could handle. It was like he was taking a stand against the abuse, saying, no, I'm not gonna let you abuse me anymore. And it finally got to the point then where he was let go from the circus, and he landed at the sanctuary.
Oh, how lucky he was.
Very lucky, but also deep, deep, deep inner wounding.
Right.
So I asked the elephant, do you want to heal your emotional pain? And he thought about it and said yes. And he walked down the fence line, and I asked him to forgive the handlers that hit him with that stick, that forced him to ride the tricycle. I asked him to forgive all human beings for making a circus where the wild animals don't belong. And as he did, he began banging his head against the fence. And the people around me were gasping like, oh, he wants to get out. And I'm sitting there crying, knowing he's releasing. In that hitting his head, he's releasing his emotional wounding. And then he steps back and he goes, and he walks back down the fence line, and he puts his foot up on the fence and raises his trunk and says, thank you. So that was just like, wow. And Nicholas taught me that all animals have emotional wounding. All wild animals do too, as well as our pets. Every single one of them do, because they all have feelings and emotions. And we need to stop abusing them. We need to stop hunting them. And if there's one thing, Nicholas, I have to look at my notes, his one message. This is Nicholas's message, if it's okay if I read it.
Of course. Of course.
Nicholas the elephant said, the next time you venture out in your life and you visit a zoo or a sanctuary or a shelter or a pet store, please spread your love and respect to the animals so they know there are good people in the world. A lot of them are so wounded by other humans that aren't good. We can share our love with them and let them know there is love. There are good people, and you can become an animal advocate. That's Nicholas the elephant's wish for all of us human beings.
Was he happier where he was? Did he talk about that at all?
No, there wasn't enough time. Like, we were standing there for maybe 20 minutes, and then we had to leave and get back on the shuttle bus. So didn't say like I'm happy here, but he did say I'd like you to come back and help the other animals. And I haven't had a chance to go back. And now with the whole pandemic thing, nobody can go anywhere.
Right.
But distance work is available too. So I should probably check in over there with him and see how he's doing. But yes, he is happier. And he actually met a female elephant there that kind of acted as a surrogate mother to him. And that really, really helped him. So, yes.
Yeah, I've seen videos online like where two animals grew up together in captivity and then got taken apart.
Uh-huh.
And then later in life, they get to be in the same sanctuary. And
Uh-huh.
when they discover each other, it is such glee as
Yes.
they're romping across the field to go be together. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think we realize
You're
they
right.
have all of that same connection and love and emotion for their fellow creatures as well.
And they remember.
Uh-huh.
They remember. Yeah, I think we human beings have underestimated the wisdom of animals, of really truly how smart and wise and expansive in that wisdom that they are. They're just like us, really. They just can't speak human, they speak feelings. So,
Right. Right.
yeah, yeah.
You would love to live where I live. I live about 3 miles from the San Gabriel Mountains in Los
Ah,
Angeles. And although I only get coyotes where I am because I'm far enough from the base of the mountain, up in the northern part of my city, we just had a mountain lion come down.
ah,
We have bears all the time. They come down, they swim in the pools,
ah.
they climb in the trees, they make themselves quite at home. And
Oh, that's
especially
cool.
now, since we have been inside more,
Uh-huh.
they are coming out more. They come out
Ah,
with their
yeah.
cubs.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of sightings going on. The mountain lion came down because it had been attacked by another mountain lion. And
Ah.
so it came down, it was wounded and went under someone's house, created quite the fervor. But they finally did catch him and they took him to the Santa Monica Mountains where there's a mountain lion
Oh,
sanctuary. So
good.
he's in the hospital there and then he will probably be released over there
Okay.
instead of coming back to where he was here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this the whole community is very much into their wild animals, with the exception of the coyotes, which are everywhere. Uh, and they eat our kitties. They, you know, and but
Oh,
I had one come look right in my office window at me. He
oh,
wasn't very cute. He
wow.
kind of scared me. And I had my two outdoor kitties, so I didn't want them out there. So I
Right.
ran and grabbed a pan and a lid and went out and banged it, and he flew over my 7 foot fence
Wow.
with just like that. But yeah, no, they're down here, and they're and when I called the animal control people, they said, "No, honey, you're in their territory. They are not in yours. So learn to live with them because they're going to be
Yeah.
there."
Well, if they come around again, just say hello. Thank you for visiting. I'd like you to leave now and leave my cats alone. You
Yeah,
can
well, my kitties are no longer here,
That's
so
true.
I guess they can stay now.
Yeah.
But there's a very nice dog next door that I don't want them to bother either.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, that's exciting to live in an area like that. We hope,
Yeah, it's fun.
hmm yeah, we hope to move someday to a more rural area.
And I'm in Los Angeles. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
in a suburb. We are in the city. I call it normal LA, but I am definitely still in city. It's all city here, but we're
Yeah.
close enough to the mountains that you can get away and get back into the wild a little bit,
hmm
where there is some open land. We have
Yeah.
a couple waterfalls in there. It's fun.
Oh,
You wouldn't think
beautiful.
that this exists here in Los Angeles, but it
Uh-huh.
does.
Cool. Very cool.
So the other thing that you started talking about were farm animals.
Uh-huh.
Now, I did not grow up on a farm. I don't necessarily understand farm animals. I know that as a child, we went to a farm a couple of times. I did see a foal get born, which was
Oh.
pretty nifty.
Uh-huh.
But I don't, I don't know from farm animals very much, and they all wanted to talk to you as well.
Yeah, they do. Farm animals are generally happy. Um, they like living the peaceful ranch life. They love their humans that they're with, and they have lots of wisdom to share. And for the most part, the only unhappy animals are food animals.
I was going to
And
say, yeah,
that's
some of them
because the
get
way
treated
they're
not so well.
treated.
Right.
That's just the way they're treated. And I personally made the choice to be vegan. I do not propose that to anyone else. It's a personal choice as far as I'm concerned. But once I learned about the feed animals and the pain that they were going through to become um, feed animals, I just decided I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. So,
Yeah,
uh,
we do eat some meat, but we eat grass-fed, grass-finished
mhm,
meat that is generally well treated by his
right,
rancher.
right,
So it's a little difference, to eat a chicken that's caged and
right.
not allowed to run free. We only eat animals that are eating their species specific food.
Uh-huh.
So, and I call myself a pagan. I eat mostly vegetables because it's
Uh-huh.
healthier.
Yeah,
And I do eat small amounts of meat because I'm diabetic, and it
right.
allows me to release sugar much more slowly and keeps
Oh,
my
good.
sugar level much more stable. But I
Good.
do eat some meat, and I admit that I have some feelings about whether or not we should do that. But
Yeah.
I tried to be totally vegan, and I did not feel good doing it.
Okay.
So
Well, see, you know what's best for you, so that's good. And we just need to bring in greater compassion into that whole area. The whole area.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some of it is so unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. It's sad. It's sad, but not much we can do at this point yet.
Now, you live in Arizona. Did I get that wrong? Or are you
Oh,
in
no,
Northern
I'm in
California?
California, Northern California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because in Sedona we have different animals. We have a fox that has come to visit, and we
Uh-huh.
have these little piggy-looking things called gravelini or something like
Oh,
that are
okay.
wild, and they
Uh-huh.
run around like crazy. But they're kind of funny-looking things.
No,
They're
you have
not
a lot
actually.
of interactions.
They're more related to opossums than they
Oh,
are to pigs, but they
okay.
look like pigs. So it's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool that you get to experience all that.
Someday where we are, we'll all get built up. But
Yeah.
right now, as I look out my kitchen window, it's all open with just one house off in the distance.
Oh, cool.
So it's very beautiful there.
Yeah, nice. Nice.
So let's talk about what the themes are that all the animals seem to offer to you across the board, because the themes were very clear in the book.
Yeah. So the biggest theme, which everyone already realizes, is the unconditional love that animals have for us. They really emphasize that a lot. They really want, animals want us to truly be aware of their unconditional love as a way of teaching us unconditional love, for us to let go of our judgments against others. And unconditional love doesn't judge. It's gentle, it's kind, it's compassionate, it's empathic. And if we can be that way with other human beings, the world becomes a better place to live in. That truly, I think, was the biggest message.
And if we can learn that with animals, then it exudes out of us towards human beings, I think.
Yes,
That's why
and
it's so important that a child learns that.
yeah, and I think that's a beautiful gift animals give us, because we can't learn it too much from other human beings unless that human is being kind and loving to us. But animals are always loving to us. Even if we get angry with them or we're mad at them, they still love us no matter what. And that truly is an embodiment of unconditional love. So when I look at my pets, I think that, okay, unconditional love, you're being peaceful. I want to be peaceful inside. I kind of just see how they're behaving Sometimes they show me though if they're picking up my stuff, like if I'm getting frustrated or stressed out, and I see somebody acting stressed out, like Odie, then I'll look at myself and say, okay, what am I being stressed out about? I don't need to be stressed out. I kind of use them as my little counselors in a way, like
Mm-hmm.
my emotional barometer for myself, because I want to work on being better inside and expressing more love out into the world, and they help me do that.
And I talk in my first book, in my self-care section, how
Uh-huh.
important it is to have a pet, to
Oh,
relax, and just to have them to give love
yeah,
to.
yeah,
We don't take enough time anymore for self-care.
I
And
know.
one of the best ways we can quiet down and be present is to be present with our pets and to
Yep.
just be there, let them give us love and we give them love. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so good for us on a multitude of levels,
Yeah.
but especially on a soul level.
Yeah.
And
There was one pet in the book who was talking about human stress, how we can deal with our human stress. And the dog said, pet your pet.
mhm,
That the actual act of petting your pet rewires something inside your brain and you get calmer inside. And I'm like, it's so simple. Just pet
yeah,
your
it
pet.
is.
You feel stressed out, pet your pet. That's a self-care tip from a dog.
And it's good for you and for your pet. So
Right.
what's not to
Yeah.
love about that, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. The other messages that come through are truly the question that I asked the pets, and I only asked one question, was what advice would you like to give us human beings to help us better understand life? So all of their responses were based on that question. So the other common topics were watch out for the inner critic that we have. Don't listen to our inner critic. Tell it to be quiet. That we are not our inner critic, that we really are a soul of love, and we can express more love outward, and that joy and happiness and laughter and having fun are all important for us to continue to do no matter what age we are.
Yeah, no, they're huge parts of health.
Yeah. And the one good one, there was one, several of the animals passed away during the process of the book. And one of them said that he wants us humans to know that when animals pass, you're separating from their body, but you're still connected on a soul level. And it's the same if a human family member passes. You miss their physical presence, but you're still connected to them on a soul level and you can feel
Definitely. I
it.
call it they have gone to the other side of the veil, but they're
Yeah,
still there.
yeah.
Because I am back in my childhood home,
Uh-huh.
this is the house I grew up in, and I
Uh-huh.
moved close when my mother got ill. I lived about 15 minutes away. When I first moved in here, every morning when I got up, all my kitchen cabinets were open.
Oh,
And
wow.
I thought, okay, are you unhappy, Mom, that I'm not keeping your house as clean as you did? What is the message that you want me to get? So I
Yeah.
finally called a psychic, and she said, no, she's there for a variety of reasons. Number one, she wants you to know she's still there, that
Okay.
just because she's passed, she still wants to be with you, because at that point I was single.
Uh-huh.
And she said, and then because she had this weird syndrome called multiple system atrophy,
Right.
she was opening the cabinets just because she could. Because for
Oh.
so long she couldn't do that motion.
Okay.
She was kind of
Okay.
getting a kick out of the fact that she could open them up and that
Right.
I knew she was opening them up. And so she stayed with me, how long? For about 5 years. And then when I met John and fell in love and he moved in and we married and he moved in, it
Uh-huh.
stopped. I
Wow.
think because she was at peace that I
Yeah.
was okay. Because
Yep.
John is a very sweet, very loving man.
Oh.
And so it doesn't happen anymore. but it was kind of a riot to get up every morning. Yeah, I'd close all the cabinets before I went to bed, and then they'd all be opened up again in the morning. But it was also very comforting to know that she was still
Yeah.
close.
Yep. Yeah, that's a beautiful sign from your
And
mom.
this house is a house of good memories for me.
Oh,
So it was
good.
nice to come back here. I used to joke that I picked my parents very well before I was born. And
Oh.
my mother would always quip back, "You must have been hatched," because no daughter of mine would say such a silly thing. Yeah, there's
Oh.
a lilac tree in the back that I went with my father and bought for her when I was 12. So when
Oh.
it blooms, it just floods me with all kinds of memories because she loved it so much. And they don't grow easily in Los Angeles, so it's fun that that grows here.
Yeah, that's awesome for you.
So yeah, no, it's nice.
That's
So we sold John's house and we stayed here. So it made sense to me to be back in
hmm
this house.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I had a pet. I got him when I was 7, and he passed away when I was 24. So he lived a good long life.
Wow, yeah.
I was in the Bay Area when she passed away, but yeah.
hmm
So I wouldn't doubt that her little spirit is still here as well.
Yeah. The other thing that animal communication does is heart healing for us because we're allowed to speak to our pets in spirit. And when, let's say, a lot of people I've found have a lot of guilt around the passing of a pet.
Yeah, I have guilt about the passing of all 3 of my pets.
No, I know, but that's because you became aware of all the health and toxicity around
Yeah.
everything. But when you're able then to speak to your pet in spirit, it brings healing to your heart because you realize you're not to blame. It's not your fault. You did everything exactly as it was supposed to go, and your pet just blesses you and releases you from that guilt and allows your heart to heal. It's
And
beautiful.
because of that, I have autoimmune disease. I
Uh-huh.
cleaned up all the toxins in my life. I eliminated hundreds of them, but I
Yeah.
wasn't cognizant that my pets were also putting up with a lot of toxicity because
Yeah.
the world had changed so much.
Yeah.
And so where my kitties always lived into their 20s,
Mm-hmm.
these guys left me at 12, 14, and 16.
Oh,
And
wow.
that broke my heart. And I
Yeah.
knew, I mean, I grieved longer than normal because I knew something went wrong. There
Yeah.
was no reason that they should have died so early.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote the whole chapter in my second book because I didn't want anyone else to go through that.
Yeah.
And that was what I needed to learn and what I needed to share
Yeah.
because I don't know that people are aware of just how much toxicity is in everything now. Our government is not protecting us, and the only way it's going to change if we join together and stop buying this stuff. So
Right.
knowledge really does become power when it comes to toxins. And
So,
so, yeah,
so Beeper would like to speak to you.
okay, good.
Beeper's coming in and wants you to know that the reason your kitties passed young was also to help you, to teach you. So he doesn't want you to feel guilty. He says it was to teach you and help you to write your books because it spurred you. It ignited a fire inside of you. Your kitty's passing lit that fire to bring change. And you are bringing change with your books. You did the research, you wrote the books, you're helping others. And that's was part of their purpose in your life.
Yeah. And I don't know if people are aware, but pets are not living anywhere near as long as they used to.
Yeah,
I was upset that mine left at 12, 14, and 16.
yeah.
The average age of a cat now is 12.
I know. It's really, really
I
sad.
used to have them live I mean, the joke amongst all my friends is they wanted to come back in their next life as my pet because they had such a great life. But we're losing cats at 12 and we're losing dogs at 10.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, everybody who's a pet lover out there needs to hear me say that because
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be that way. I actually found a video online of a 37-year-old dog.
Wow.
who had had such a good life and had eaten species specific food his whole life because his owner like got it early, that he's still
Wow.
out there romping and having a darn good
That's
time.
amazing. That's
So
amazing.
it doesn't have to be that way, but
Right.
because they don't get to tell us that what we're feeding them is not good for them,
Right.
and they will eat whatever it is because it's
Mhm.
all they're given.
Right.
We have to be responsible to study it, learn it, understand it,
Yes.
and take care of it for them, because
Yep.
that's what being a good pet guardian is.
Yep. I have switched all of our pets to homemade food with vitamin and mineral supplements included, so they
Yeah,
get
you can't just
diet.
feed them scraps,
Right.
because
Right.
that creates dysfunction in their body as much as the crud that comes
Yeah.
out of the cans. It is gross. If
Yeah.
anybody wants to know more about it and you don't want to do your own research, buy my book,
Yeah.
because it's called Feeling Good, Living Low Toxin in Community and Everyday Life. When I started reading what actually was in pet food, it's appalling.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's appalling. It's all, I mean, they even take dead animals off the street and put it
I know that
into the pet
I
food.
can't believe I know it's just we have a big food problem in our country and in other countries, that's for sure. For both people and animals, don't we?
Yeah, well, the problem is worse here than I think it is even is in other industrialized
Oh,
countries.
okay.
We're 37th in the world in health.
Wow.
Our healthcare problem is different than what everybody perceives. Our healthcare problem is the poor quality of the food that
Mm.
we're producing and we're eating.
Mhm.
If we were eating organic and we were getting all the nutrients that we needed from our food, we wouldn't have an insurance issue, and it wouldn't be bankrupting our society. So we need to start looking at it differently. I just had a friend write to me and say, obviously, with COVID-19, we need to all stay in. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to wear masks. We need to have 6 feet between us. But
Mhm.
why doesn't anyone say we would boost our immune system if only we also changed how we ate and eliminated toxins?
Yeah.
Because the estimate is that 9 out of 10 of us are vulnerable.
Mm.
That's much bigger than I think most people realize.
Yeah.
They think it's only the elderly, or it's only the people with
Yeah.
cancer or autoimmune disease. If you're eating the standard American diet, you are vulnerable. So listen up. This is your opportunity to change now. Change for your pets, and change for your children, and change for yourself.
Yeah. Your health
53% of our
your
kids
health
have
needs
chronic
it.
illness. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, we're on pause for a reason, and we
Yeah.
need to take a look at what that reason is, and we need to reassess how we're living our lives.
Yeah, that's spiritually, that's what I see. I actually asked the Holy Spirit, what is the purpose of this whole pandemic? And it is for all of us to slow down, take a look inside, but also to slow down and take a look at our society and see what needs changing. And
Right.
we know now all kinds of things need fixing up and
Well,
changing for the
I
better
was
for everybody.
hoping we were going to come out of this gentler and kinder to each other,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure we are.
I
But
think, yeah, I think there's always hope. I watched some video the other day where a young black man was quoting his ancestor, and he ended it with, there is the possibility of change. There is possible change in all ways, and there is still hope. And I'm like, yeah, I
there's
agree.
always
There is
hope.
hope. Yeah.
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
always hope. And this has been a major disruptor.
Hmm.
And with the major disruptors are messages. So we need to
Yeah.
pay attention.
Yep. And reinvent our lives.
Right.
Rework how we live, rework how we do things and how we treat each other, and we'll all make the world a better place.
So tell it now. People can hire you to talk
Uh-huh.
to their animal, correct?
Yes,
So,
I'm a professional animal communicator and spiritual life coach. And so I do animal communication sessions. I do them for pet behavior, for health issues, for relationship issues, because sometimes if you have multiple pets in a household, there's relationship issues, and also heart healing for those who have lost pets. And then I
Right.
do divine inner healing for both people and animals to help that emotional wounding, which I suffered from, which I know other people carry, and animals. And so I do emotional healing for people and animals too.
Okay. And I will put the link of how they can find you in the show notes for this show. And then how do they get your book?
The book is on Amazon, and it's both in Kindle version. The Kindle version has full color photos, which is cool. And
Yeah, that's unusual.
yeah, the print book is also there too on the same page. Just search the title.
And I just have to tell you, it's a very sweet read.
Oh,
If you're an animal person, it will warm your heart. So you
yeah.
need to read it because it's quite wonderful. And if you had one thing that you wanted to say to people, what would it be?
It would just be that know that animals are in our life for a purpose, both pets and wild animals. Whenever you encounter an animal anywhere, anytime, because if you actually start looking for them, you're going to notice them everywhere. Even at your work office, you'll see them.
Yeah.
Remember that you're looking at a sentient soul with feelings and emotions. Just say hello and be kind to all animals, and they'll respond back to you. And know that your own pets, with your own pets, that sometimes the best therapist has fur and four paws.
Yeah, no, I believe that. They are so sweet and
Yeah.
special.
Yeah.
And I want to share with everyone, as a result of my husband reading Suzanne's book,
You froze up, Cheryl.
he is deadly excited and he's looking for it. Am I still frozen? No.
No,
Oh, yeah, I am. No. Okay.
you're
So,
okay.
yeah, I'm going to get a new kitten. So I am quite excited about it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
That's
thank you so much. I have loved having this conversation. I forgot a little bit that we were even recording it. I was enjoying it so much and in the moment. So it's been lovely to talk to you, and thank you very much
thank
for
you.
coming
It
on my
was
show.
awesome. I'm grateful to connect with you. And I look forward to you getting your kitten and hearing about it.
Oh, you will.
Okay.
We have to have more kittens so that I can choose, but
Yep.
it'll come. It has to be a low allergy kitten. Those are only special breeds, so it'll be interesting.
Good, good. Well, thank you,
Okay.
Cheryl.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.